everybody. Here we are at the second day of the Powerhouse Smart Luxury Conference, and I am so thrilled to introduce this hard hat project tour. This is architect and builder led, which means you get to meet the incredible talents behind this project. It's amazing. It's in the Santa Monica Mountains. You see the picture here, and I am so fortunate that Abramson Architects, David Pascu, and his GC, Andrew and Marcin Jagoda, are going to be joining us and sharing the incredible details, the scope of the project, lessons learned, new technologies, sustainability aspects, lots of exciting things. And should we have time, because I know they could probably do this hard hat tour in a much longer period of time, really giving us incredible insight. We're just going to get us the overview today. So if you have questions, put them in the chat and we'll try to have time to answer. If not, we certainly can get back to you after the conference. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the lead architect, David Pascu, and he's going to introduce himself, as well as Marcin and Andrew get to introduce themselves. So please, David, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Like Wendy said, my name is David Pascu. I'm a partner with Abramson Architects, and I oversee all of the single family residential projects in our office. And I do that along with Trevor Abramson, who's the founding partner. He's also very involved in the single family projects and was with this house as well. And so today we have Andrew Jagoda and Marcin Jagoda of AJ Engineering. And, Andrew, I've been working with for 10 years, and Andrew, you've been working with Trevor probably for another 10, so 20 years at least. We typically, our companies are separate, but we have a good partnership, and we typically do at least one major project together a year. So, Andrew, how many projects do you think we've done together?
Oh, if I have to go through, probably 10, 15.
Yeah, I think maybe even 15 or 20 if you count some of the,
20, you count everything, yes.
The smaller ones. But I'm going to go to the next slide, and you can see here we've got another picture of the residence that I'm going to show you on the left. And then on the right-hand side, we have a couple of other houses that we've built with Andrew and Marcin throughout the years. And Andrew, why don't you just introduce yourself and Marcin and tell us about AJ Engineering and Construction?
Hi, my name is Andrew Jagoda. I've been doing construction in Los Angeles area from 1980. The company was basically started by myself, and during the last 30 some years, we started small as a remodeling contractor, and now we are building a very custom homes in west side of Los Angeles. For last few years, the company was joined by my son Marcin, and he was the one who was responsible for this project as a superintendent, and I was basically overseeing as a project manager.
Yeah, and Marcin, can you introduce yourself as well?
Hi everyone, my name is Marcin. So as my dad said, I joined the company many, many years ago. After a long hiatus of doing other things around the world, I decided to come back and rejoin the workforce with my dad. I started with the company when I was actually a little kid, learning how to actually push a broom and how to dig holes. And after college, I took some time away, did some other stuff, and came back to join the company. And one of the first projects that I came back to was this one that we're featuring today on this conference.
So here's a, we wanted to show this shot so you can kind of get a sense of the one, the location, and two, the magnitude of the project. And, you know, Marcin, I think you put it pretty well when you were saying that this is really not your average single family house. This is a different level of construction. You know, and why don't you talk about that for a little bit? Because you've had some great comments and insight on that before.
So I think one of the most important things to understand about this project was, David, you can come back and touch upon it later, is how the development came to be, meaning the design with you and Trevor, and how you guys incorporated all the hillside and landscaping with it. But in regards to our part of it, the project was a living organism, I guess you could call it, for lack of a better way of explaining it, in that every day things were getting accomplished, not only by us, but of the multitude of people that worked on it. So in this picture, I mean, this is well into the project at this point, where we already daylighted the basement level and we're building up. Here you see we're doing all the rebars, getting ready for concrete pouring on the main level of the house. This is about a year and a half plus minus into the project. Dad, I don't know if you have anything specific you want to mention upon this, but go for it.
I mean, the project was a very difficult project because we was dealing with the very unusual condition, the slope, and also we started the project in the winter, and turns out there was one of the heaviest rain winter in California in a few years. So this is a shot of the house already completed.
Yeah, so I'm going to go through and we'll give just kind of a little tour of the house, and then we kind of, well, this is a good overview, right? So here you can really see the property is it's on a promontory, a portion of the hillside, and it's overlooking a state rustic canyon, a state park, which will never be developed. So it's a great site, and it's right on the edge. And you know what Andrew and Marcin were alluding to is the complications of building on such a slope and such a large house on the slope. And you can see this this particular slide is the day that we were craning olive trees over the house to put into the hillside. And you can see some of the beds that are already cut to take the root balls of the trees in the hillside. And I don't know if you wanted to comment anything specific about this particular slide before I go through the house.
One thing that if anyone who's looking can look on the upper side of the image, you see a lot of trees that are actually look like there are trees that are in the ground, but those are actually the 25 plus olive trees that we were craning over the house on that one day.
And yeah, there's not much of a staging area, so you know this was obviously a challenge. So let me walk you through the house. I want to tell you a little bit about the client and how they came to us. They bought this property, and they actually started with another architect, and they got they got into the design with this other architect, and the other architect had proposed kind of like a French chateau on this site. And whether that's a nice design or not, I'm not going to judge, but the client basically felt like that it didn't work on the sloping site. Like that sort of house, and style really needed the breathing room of a big flat piece of property with lush landscape and gardens around it. So they ditched that idea, and we're known for modern architecture, and they weren't sure they wanted a modern house, but they felt that this site demanded something that could really work with the landscape. One other thing about this house is because of its location and a part of the there was a deed restriction on the house that it could only be 1 story tall from the street. So the house itself really, to be a house of this size and be a single story house from the street, it really had to embed itself within the hillside. And so this is the front entrance. There's a 100-year-old olive tree on the left. And when you come in the front door, you're in really one of the tallest spaces in the house. Andrew, Marcin, do you know, is it 18 feet or 22? It's like 20, how tall is it right here?
I think it's 21.6.
21.6, okay. So you come into a really nice volume, and then one of my favorite things about this house is when you come in the entry, you can in the slide on the left, you can just barely see the dining room table, and you see greenery out the window. And what you're seeing out the window there eventually leads you to a more open view. But from this perspective, you're only seeing the canyon across the hill beyond. You don't see sky yet. You can see sky through the clear story windows and through the skylight, but not directly through the windows. You don't see the horizon line. And for me, this is one of the most kind of beautiful moments of the house, is this front entrance, and also how we brought light into the house. So you'll see here, the light is coming through the skylights, light is coming through clear story windows, and this is just inside the entry, and you can see a similar, there's another skylight here, and you see these clear story windows on the left, which is a bay of 9 windows, and 5 of the 9 are operable through a mechanized system. So you push a button, and every other one of these clear story windows will open. And so that's one way that we can get some really nice natural ventilation through the house. This is the living room, and you can, if you know, we've got the doors completely open. These sliding glass doors, they're steel and glass, and they're mechanically operated. So this is 3 bays that open up, and I think it's 21 or 22 feet wide at that corner. And then right behind us is also open, and again, another 21 or 22 feet. But this house is, it's a very casual living. You can see we've got the living room and the dining room, and just to the left, you can see the kitchen, and it's all one big open space. Here, and open not only to rooms within the house, but then also to the outside. And here's the patio. They've got a really nice dining area here on the patio, and hey, look at that view. You can't beat that.
So David, I have a question. When you were in design with the homeowner in the beginning, and I think I remember you telling me when we talked earlier, and Marcin was there as well, that this was this huge collaboration, and that the fact that you both as an architect and a GC have this tremendous respect for each other, that when you were designing with them, were you actually going back and having team meetings with Andrew and Marcin to make sure whatever the design was, that technically you were building into the architectural plans the process and how you were going to get that accomplished?
Well, yeah, so we, it's a very collaborative relationship between, my firm as the lead of the design team, and Andrew and Marcin as the lead of the construction team. So on the design side, we've got a structural engineer, we've got mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, we've got a lighting designer, there was an interior designer, there's a whole team of people on the design side, and then likewise on the construction side, there's a whole team. When we started the project, the design phase, and this is us working with the the owners and with the other design consultants, it took about a year before we got to construction. So within that first year, it was really us and the design team. And then once we started construction, then the collaboration between, you know, my firm and Andrew and Marcin's firm started. And you know, it's like we would have an idea, for instance, in the slide that you're seeing here, um, these very tall panels that are these are perforated steel panels on an aluminum frame that are mounted with, their top hung on a system of wheels that can, you know, they can be moved and slid around. We actually, this was the kind of the big experiment with this house, because, and the reason for these panels started with the client's concern that they wanted protection from the wind. That was the reason for these panels. As it turns out, they really benefit a little bit more for protection from the sun than the wind. We didn't know exactly how it was going to work with the wind, but the way that what we ended up doing, and this is where it became a collaboration, and where, you know, we had to really, Andrew and Marcin and I had to work through a lot of complicated details. The tracks and the system come from the same system where, from a company that builds operable walls that you typically see in convention centers or in, you know, like churches where they separate a rec hall or something like that. So that we used that track system to and then we integrated it with a custom built panel. And then you can see we've also got these cane bolts on the side so that once you do move a panel, you can lock it into position. And the slide on the left shows them deployed at the corner. They also stack against these large concrete columns. So this was really a tricky thing. And, you know, Andrew and, you know, most builders would just probably shy away from it and say, you know, or try and discourage it. David, that's crazy. This is too hard. It's not going to work. But Andrew and Marcin, you know, they just figure out how to do it. So Andrew, I don't know if you want to say anything about this particular detail, but I know it took a lot to work through.
It was very challenging, but you know, we did it, and it works very well. And I think the homeowner is happy with it.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I remember, other than that, these panels don't exist anywhere other than the paper that they were drawn on in the beginning. And when we had to sit down and figure out how to build this, and who was going to, you know, help us build these frames for the eventual perforated steel sheets that go on them, was a challenge in itself, along with the carrying system, which opens and closes these panels. And then it came down to, well, how much wind do the clients really want to come through these panels? So I remember we had to order different perforated sheets with different diameter holes, and we had to do tests throughout the day to see which ones had enough flow for the client or what they wanted. And then they finally settled on, I don't even remember what the exact diameter of the hole is, but they settled on that diameter because it gave them a little bit of flow of wind throughout the day, especially around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon when it's really gusty up there. And it worked out.
Wow. This is not like any other home. This is like a commercial project, like a resort. I mean, you know, the last time I went to the Four Seasons, crazy,
yeah,
absolutely incredible.
And that level of customization kind of works its way into the interior as well. So this is the view of the kitchen. You know, this is part of the kitchen is open, and it's open to the formal dining room and formal living room. And you can see there's a breakfast area, a little table on the left side there. There's also a sous kitchen which you can see that there's a door open in the back that goes back to a Sioux kitchen. So, if this family had, like a more formal dinner party where people were helping them, there's a place where cleanup can happen that doesn't disturb, the conversations that might be had at this dinner table. And one thing that is really customized here is the cabinetry. And the cabinetry is actually wrapped in an oil rubbed bronze. And, that was definitely quite an undertaking with the cabinet maker, but Andrew and Marcin brought a great cabinet maker to the project. And I don't know, you want to say anything about that, Andrew?
I mean, there was a very tricky design. That's number one. And number two, when you add metal to the wood frame door, then the weight becomes the factor, and it has to be designed that in the future you have no problem with the alignment on this kitchen. So I think Swiss Woodworking, the company we will work with, and did excellent job.
Wow. So as I had said earlier, I literally wish we had way more time with you all, and hopefully maybe you've already generously decided to do even this portion, but I'd love to have a future event where we could see even, and spend more time and ask questions. So we've got about 4 or 5 minutes left, and I know you want to talk about the client, David and Marcin and Andrew. So please share with us. And
well, let me go through a little bit more. So here's the master bedroom. There's an artisan hammered metal surround for the fireplace there. So this is really where the details, kind of come through in this house. So we had board form concrete was one of the main materials, and we also have shiplap siding that's made with white oak, and we made sure that when you do a house like this of concrete, everything has to be located perfectly before the concrete is poured. So what you're seeing in this slide here is we set up a datum line that runs throughout the house. So the boards, which appear to be random in their size, they're 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch boards. They're not really random. They were located precisely through a datum that we laid out, and then Andrew and Marcin and their subcontractors had to follow, down to, we had to make sure that, for instance, in this slide, you can see an electrical outlet that had to fit exactly in the middle of a board. You can see where there's a decorative sconce that was being located that had to fit exactly in a board. And we tried to line up boards with every step, with every ceiling height, with every floor height. So, the level of detail and precision from both the design side and from the construction side was pretty incredible, even to the point of locating where the form tie holes are going to be. We have a dimension here, like, okay, it's this distance from the corner. We had to figure all these things out before the concrete was poured. And to that point, we also did mock-ups so here's a mock-up that we did of the concrete wall to test how it would work with the steel window system, to test how it would work with a light switch and with an electrical outlet. And we also, in that mock-up, we played with the distance, the in and out of the concrete boards. One side we tried a 1/4 inch, the other side we tried an 1/8. In the end, we said quarter's too much, so we went with an 1/8. And here you can see a picture of the site and that mock-up wall, which was built to test it. And then once we found our answers, we destroyed it. So here's a little bit of the inside and the basement. There's really a lot of integration happening here. You can see how the lighting is fit in the floor. And I know this was really complicated. I don't know if you guys can maybe do a really quick summary of what you had to do here to make this happen.
So basically, what David's referring to are the lights on the left part of the screen that are located inside the concrete. On the plans, which called for lights inside the treads, seemed like a straightforward idea at first, but then once you came down to actually building the forms and pouring concrete, we realized there was no real way to either mount these lights inside the forms or have access to them later, which created the challenge. And after about two days of figuring stuff out, tinkering with ways to mount these lights, Dad, I think you figured out how to do it best. If you want to explain it real quick.
There's nothing to explain. We just came up with the solution and we did it.
I love it. I love Andrew. That's awesome.
We basically fabricated custom mounting brackets for the lights inside the concrete.
Fabulous. So David, we're kind of running towards the end here. And I know that you all told me when we were discussing this client is exceedingly happy. Do they recognize that this was this incredibly unique project? I hope they do.
They do. And, you know, every time, you know, people come to visit this house, you know, they're blown away. You know, they're blown away by the design and the attention to detail and the level of craftsmanship. And, you know, they're currently there in this, you know, everyone's living through the pandemic. And so, you know, I've had the pleasure of being able to visit them a couple times during the pandemic. And it's kind of, you know, if you're stuck in a place like this, maybe a pandemic isn't such a bad thing. And I think they definitely feel that. They've, you know, they keep the house open and they're kind of going inside and outside, and, you know, it's, they've made a beautiful garden of the landscape around the hill that, you know, they just keep working on, and they love it. So it's, yeah, a great place to live. And, you know,
well, this is a testament to your talents, the three of you. Absolutely. I'm in awe. And like I said, everybody who's seeing this during our conference here is just going to be wanting to meet you and to congratulate you on what an incredible project. Of course, thinking about how they can work with you on the next one. They might have a referral for you or vice versa. But I am just so grateful that you took some time out. I know you're so busy. Everyone's so busy right now. It's a good thing for our industry, but I so appreciate, I'm so grateful for you to be here. So thank you again, gentlemen. And I'm so happy to have you in my network now and in my world. And I definitely know who I'm going to refer when someone asks me for a project like this. Oh my God, crazy. Awesome. Thank you again, gentlemen.
thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Thank you.